Hi, I'm Robert Bruce with Fine Sounds and Pro-Ject Audio Systems USA. We're here at House of Sound in New York City going to do installation of a turntable, the Pro-Ject RPM 9 Carbon with Sumiko Bluepoint No. 3 phono cartridge. So we're going to do a little bit of a setup and adjustment calibration of this turntable with this cartridge. Now we're going to look at how this cartridge lines up to the gauge that's printed on this, and that's a little far forward.
And Robert, that gauge is a Pro-Ject product?
It is. This is the older Align It. We actually have a nicer Align It Pro that's just come out that we're starting to ship, although it's on back order right this second. But this is an ideal way to make sure the cartridge position in the tone arm is optimized. Okay. First, we want to get the distance correct so that the tip is sticking out exactly the right distance from the bearing. From here to the tip is right on the money. Once we have that, then we're going to look at how does the cartridge body line up with the grid on the alignment gauge. Okay, once we're happy with that, we can tighten down the mounting screws. Then we can actually remove this alignment gauge. We're going to move on to a tracking force gauge. First, I'm going to get the tracking force set up perfectly. This cartridge tracks at about 2 grams. Once that's set up, then we'll need to actually get a record, cue the arm down, and look at how the cartridge body needs to be aligned to the top of the record surface.
Great.
So,
and this tool is also available from Pro-Ject?
Yes, it is. This one's called the Measure It.
Measure It.
And we've got about 3 different versions of this. There's also a brand new one called the Measure It DS, which has just come out.
Okay.
We may not have enough range here. We do not. This turntable happens to come with 4 different counterweights for the arm, and the counterweights are chosen based on the weight of the cartridge. This cartridge is a little too heavy. Sorry, light. It's too light actually for this, so we're going to have to change this counterweight to get the cartridge to track properly at 2 grams. The maximum I can get is about 0.8 of a gram, so We're going to have to change that out.
And the table comes with several counterweights.
It comes with 4 different counterweights to match a huge variety of cartridges that are on the market.
That's a big advantage.
It is. Okay, now we've swapped out the counterweight to get the correct one for the weight of this particular cartridge. So we're going to dial in the tracking force, checking it with the Measure It gauge. And we are at 2.006. Right on the money, and optimal tracking force for this cartridge is 2 grams. Can range from 1.8 to 2.2 grams, but we're going to set it at 2, which generally works perfectly for the Bluepoint No. 3. Now we're going to take a quick look at the vertical tracking angle, which is the relationship of the cartridge to the record surface. Ideally, Sumiko cartridges, the angle of the cantilever to the record surface is either 20 or 25 degrees, depending on the model. This one's 20 degrees, sorry. And with that sitting on the record surface, we want to look really closely at. And so the back of that arm is too high. So I'm going to have to get a Allen key. And we will come to the back of this tone arm, loosen 2 Allen keys, and then let the arm come down just a little bit to get the vertical tracking angle, the alignment of the cartridge body and the cantilever, so the diamond is perfectly perpendicular to the record grooves. So we'll do that in just a second. Okay, now we're going to loosen the set screws on the collar that hold the arm tube at the height that we need it to be. So I'll loosen it, adjust it, and tighten down the collar screws. This is a little fidgety because you have to hold it in place. I'm going to just slightly tighten these, check to make sure that the arm height is exactly where we want it, and then I'll torque those down a little more. That looks really nice. Having that set wrong can change the tonal balance of the phono cartridge, making it softer or brighter, changing the angle of the diamond, how it tracks into the record grooves. If it's leaning back, if it's leaning forward, it's going to mistrack, not get into the record groove properly. If it's perpendicular to the record groove, then it will get all the information out of the groove. So one of the elements that's an important one to get right. Now all we really need to do is set the anti-skate on this. I am going to look at the azimuth, make sure nothing's shifted, make sure that the arm hasn't tilted in any way, shape, or form from the time it was produced and then delivered. And then we'll be able to play a record. So we're almost ready now. The outside notch is for cartridges tracking at 3 grams, the center notch closer to 2 grams, and the inside for a cartridge tracking at 1 gram. This cartridge is at 2 grams, so it's on the center post. This weight provides an anti-skate force. There's a tendency for the cartridge to pull toward the center of the record as it's tracking the record grooves, which would emphasize the left channel. The anti-skate provides a small force in the opposite direction so that both channels are tracking evenly as opposed to one being favored over the other. This design is very old. The beauty of it is the anti-skate force increases as the record tracks through towards the end. Most anti-skate devices either use a magnet or a spring with a fixed value, versus this being less of the anti-skate force at the beginning of the record and more anti-skate force at the end of the record, which is preferred because the force changes on the cartridge itself. So we're ready to play a record.
Sounds good.
I'm going to apply this record puck to the LP. Does a couple things. If there's any warp or misshapen surface of the record, holds it a little more tightly to the mat. In this case, there is really no mat. This is vinyl bonded to the aluminum platter, so the puck holds the record more tightly to the surface of the platter. Can also damp resonance, improves the sound quality basically, adds a little more mass, so speed accuracy is a little better as well. So we'll turn on the turntable now.
We'd like to thank you for watching this video, and we'd especially like to thank Robert Bruce of Pro-Ject and Fine Sounds. Thank you, Robert.
Sure, you're welcome.
We hope you enjoyed this video about setting up a turntable and what's involved in it. I can tell you that vinyl lovers love their vinyl. So if you haven't stepped into vinyl as yet, you might want to check out what Pro-Ject is doing. To learn more about Pro-Ject and all of our fine brands, visit Gramophone.com. To check out one of these for yourself, you can go to Sky by Gramophone, where you'll always get a secure checkout with fast and free shipping straight to your door. We'd love to meet with you, so if you can, visit us in Timonium, Columbia, or Gaithersburg, Maryland. If you come to the Timonium store, you've got to check out the Experience Center right next door, where we have some spectacular product, including the Sonus Faber Aida 2 in a spectacular setting. Thank you so much for watching this video. We look forward to seeing you soon.